Okay, there we go. There we go. I think everybody should be able to hear me now. If you can, let me know. Let me know. Sorry about that. I was like, yay, I'm finally starting on time. I'm not running late, and I'm just running late. Oh, it's crazy. Okay, but anyways, good morning. I'm glad that everybody is here with me this morning. And I know everyone's like, yeah, now you can hear me. I know technology, right? It's great. Maybe, maybe not. Like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to move my little bit of lighting out of the way. You just notice, yeah, I do, I do have light happening. There we go. Sorry about that. I thought by, putting it closer to the camera, it'd be good, but my camera's like really good, so it catches everything. Like everything? Yes, everything. It's really crazy. But like I said, it's good at the same time. So, with that, let's jump into our kids' corner.
Everything games, bikes, and a robot chef. But he always said, I'll do it later. Homework, help, or even brushing. Later never came. One morning, Zevi promised his dad he'd finish his school project, but instead he spent the whole day playing with drones and holograms. That night, Zevi dreamed his toys vanished and clocks laughed at him. He woke up confused, but still didn't touch the project. Tomorrow, he whispered. One afternoon, Zevi found out the project was due that evening. He rushed to work, but nothing made sense. His later had caught up with him. Zevi didn't finish in time. He was sad. Dad didn't scold him. He simply said, time is your most powerful tool. Use it, and you'll build anything. From that day, Zevi set timers, made checklists, and said goodbye to later. He discovered when you respect time, it gives back something better, success. If you wait too long, time won't wait for you. Doing things now can open big doors tomorrow. Even the richest kid can't buy back time once it's gone.
Yeah. So it's a nice way of saying procrastination, right? Don't put off today don't put off what you can do tomorrow today, right? Or something along those lines. You basically use your time wisely, right? And I even have to do that with myself because trust me, there are times like this weekend was crazy. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to cover all this stuff. And so I'm like trying to tap into it. But at the same time, I really try to decompress over the weekend because I know there's like lots of news I gotta handle, lots of stress, right? So it's that juggling act and it's that balancing act of being close enough to it without getting absorbed by it and then putting it together for you guys. So here in the morning, you're getting what you need, right, to continue on this path and journey that we're doing it together. So with that, let's start with honoring God with our body. And God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts as what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please help me protect my ears and help me to listen to your voice, God. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect our eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over our mouths. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs. God, help me to honor you with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please help my feet as we walk along my path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if you're new here, that's a prayer that we like to start out with every morning. It's changed a little bit. We were doing another prayer outline late last year going into this year. So I do try to make sure that we start off the day right before we get into any of this news. And I just want to encourage everyone out there because we're going to get into the biblical side after we've gotten some of the news up front, just be encouraged. I don't want anybody to get discouraged right now because there's so much going on. Again, like I said, please stay encouraged. And I wanted to thank Harriet Jacobs for joining us this morning and reposting the stream and thank you for letting me know that you can actually hear me now. When you couldn't hear me before. I know strange things happen. But thank you so much again for joining this morning. And with that, we're going to start out with some news on the X platform. Let's see. Just a few things that I wanted to touch upon there, just what's trending right now on X. And one of the trending topics is that activists push Thune to fast track Save America Act for voter citizenship. Why are you dragging your feet, sir? What's going on? Let's go. We already know people want to cheat. We already know that illegals are voting in elections. They are. Stop lying about it. I need people to stop lying about it because it's weird. They'll be like, this isn't happening. And then you're passing all of these measures for people at the local level. You're giving them driver's licenses. You're doing all these things. And you're saying, well, we just have an honor system. And they just have to tell us that they're not U.S. citizens. You got people being called for jury duty that aren't U.S. citizens. And that's even happening here in the state of Georgia. But hey, nothing to see here, right? It's that back and forth and the lies being told to us that I think people are really, truly over. And this is from Brandon. Let's see, let me pause it there. Brandon Straka, hashtag walk away. He says, breaking Senator Leader John Thune is under intense pressure to fast track the Save America Act as the House prepares to send it over. Supporters are urging the Senate GOP to eliminate the filibuster and move the bill to President Trump quickly. They should. Not they could, they should. And any Democrats that are voting against this, we know where you stand. Well, you were already set up by the President of the United States to make you look really crazy. And you bought right into it. You fed right into it. He said, okay, if you support what's Americans over these illegals, and all of you sat down. So we know who you are. We know where you stand. You are for party, not people. Completely obvious. This is who you are. And we know you don't care. So let's hear from Senator Thune. Okay, so he didn't really touch on the SAVE Act, but you can see kind of where he's at. Like some of these things can be pushed through. Now, the SAVE Act is not a funding bill. So the Republicans can push it through. And somebody said it best. It's like, okay, I understand why they're not, because they wouldn't want the Democrats in the same position pushing something through that might be a detriment to the people, right? It could be a benefit, but what if it's a detriment? What if it isn't good for the American people, right? You want to have everybody's proper buy-in. But at the same time, this is just common sense because you're not enforcing the federal laws that are already on the books. This is what's crazy. No one here illegally should ever be voting. And if they are, they should be in federal prison along with the people allowing it. We already have measures on the books, but nobody's enforcing it. What are y'all doing? What are you really doing? I think that's the crazy part that's happening. Okay, and here's another post by Kentucky Girl. She says, here once again is a list of senators and their DC phone numbers. Please get on the phone and push them to pass the Save America Act. Call a lot, right? Democrats and Republicans. This should be an American issue, not a partisan one. Exactly right. Exactly right. This is not a partisan issue. But here's the deal. Republicans and Democrats, if you do not pass this, I'm telling you, if you do not pass this, here's the issue. We'll know where you stand. We're watching. We are watching how you vote. We are watching how you, what you're actually behind, what you're supporting. We're watching you. This is an election year. It's midterm election year. And we're not going to just put people in office because you tell us what to do. We're going to put people in office to get the job done because we are tired of people buying their way in. Okay. And that's even happening here in the state of Georgia. We got people just buying their way into elections. Well, I'm just going to buy my way in and do what? Like, what have you even been doing for the community up until this point? Talking about the Georgia race. Come on now. Come on. Seriously? Seriously? This is what we're doing. Okay. So enough of that. On my soapbox. I want free and fair elections. And people that are here illegally shouldn't be here anyway. You need to go home. People here 20, 30 years illegally, really? You need to go home. No, you're not going to be offered citizenship. You're going to be offered a one-way ticket to forever, wherever you came from. One way. You do not get to stay here. That's not an option. Because if you hadn't handled it coming here properly getting your naturalization, you don't respect the country. Now, a lot of people say, well, the paperwork and hey, go back home. Go back to your home country. I don't care how many of people are here. And beyond that, if you've had children here on the soil, they're here illegally as well. Now, a lot of people say, well, just soil. No. See, that's going to be determined by this 14th Amendment coming up in another month. Yeah, coming up in another month, we will see what happens with the 14th Amendment. Because that's not the original intent, and anybody can just come over here, pop a squat, and have a baby, and then that baby be an American citizen. As far as I'm concerned, the states have violated federal law because you cannot circumvent federal law and just say, well, we're just going to determine who's a citizen and who's not. We're just going to give them privileges of other citizens that they shouldn't have because we say so. But that's what's happening. But that's what's happening. That's the crazy part. That is completely insane. All right. So this is another item that has been trending on X. Now, this is in relation to the CARE, and for those you aren't familiar with CARE, it is a Muslim organization, right? So under the Islamic faith, right? And a rep testifies at Texas education hearing despite terror label objection. So during a February 25th public hearing, CARE Austin operations manager Shahima Zain testified on adding Muslim African American figures like Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali to Texas history curriculum. Interesting. Okay. Their faith, okay, and being Muslim. So now you want to take people. Okay. What? If you don't leave some of our American figures alone, Malcolm was an American. Muhammad Ali was an American. Now, did they agree with everything that happened in America? No. There's a lot of people that don't agree with what's happening in America because, you know, they grew up in that Jim Crow era. They understand what it was like to be persecuted and put down. Why in the world are you trying? They're already learned about it in school. What are you doing? This is just weird to me. That's weird. Mind your business. Nobody asked you. You didn't call us, Black Americans. You didn't say, hey, is this cool? No. Leave. You know what? There's just some things y'all need to leave alone. I'm just saying. So, Republican board member Brandon Hall raised a point of order calling CARE a terrorist organization per Governor Abbott's November 2025 proclamation and refusing to listen over Sharia law concerns. But legal counsel allowed her to proceed under First Amendment rights. Yeah, this is the crazy. That's the crazy part. The moment drew conservative backlash online, including from U.S. Representative Chip Roy, while CARE denied pushing Sharia or vouchers and stressed accurate education on Muslim contributions. It underscores ongoing debates over curriculum, school choice, and Abbott's anti terror measures in Texas. Well, you know what? I'm just going to say this for these individuals that are really bleeding the lines with the Islamic faith. We do have freedom of religion in this country. And I want you to really think that through. What that means is you don't get to just circumvent things and then say, well, we're Muslim. So what? I don't care. I'm a Christian. So what? Stop trying to use it as a way to do what you want. Because either you're going to be political or you're going to be religious. Figure it out. Figure it out and stop trying to use it to do certain things. Are Christians trying to say, okay, we're just going to circumvent, I don't know, some person and inject it into. Stop. 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 I need y'all to go to wherever you came from. Go back to your country, whatever that is. If it's a Muslim country that does what you're doing, go back there. Because what you're doing here in the United States, it's not helping anyone. It's just not. You're not being helpful. So let's check out this video because this is, I guess, the controversy that's going on. So, Islamification. Texas State Board of Education ruled terror groups has right to speak at today's hearing. Despite being a designated terror group, CARE was permitted to lobby board for vouchers for Islamic schools and inclusion of Sharia in state schools. So that's a problem because Sharia law runs contrary to the Constitution. Either you're under the Constitution or you're not. We're not doing Sharia law here. Y'all need to go. And anybody that subscribes to that needs to leave the United States. You do not align with us. And I'm okay with mass denaturalization and deportation. I'm okay with double D's. Okay. In that respect, I'm good with it. Y'all need to go. It's time to leave. Okay. Let's get some sound going. Huh? You heard the man. You heard the man. They are recognized as a terrorist organization. And everybody was just like, well, they still have a First Amendment right. Huh? Wow. We had people in my lineage and maybe some other listening, they had rights and were still denied the First Amendment. What are we doing? But this is who people are. And this is why I got to show you. I know I can't get caught up because I do get a little bit in my feelings about it. I'm sorry. This is crazy. Okay. So, TikTok user describes hypothetical poisoning of Donald Trump's McDonald's order. What is wrong with you? You do realize the FBI is going to be at your house. Okay. Yeah, they're going to ping all of this. They're going to ping all of this. Okay, so the video from the user's name claims it's easy for an employee to access a marked bag and use undetectable compounds mimicking food poisoning drawn from alleged past incidents, including bodily fluids, which means they might pee, poop, other bodily fluids. Put it in your food. That's disgusting. Reports on X amplified outrage, with users tagging the FBI, Secret Service, and others demanding investigations and arrest, while skeptics noted Trump's secure protocols and personal chef. No responses have come from authorities or McDonald's as of early March 2nd, amid questions over whether the post crosses into threats. That is a threat. Okay, I don't eat McDonald's because I have a corn allergy, so I can't eat their food. But this is gross. So they, them, there's former McDonald's worker and a PhD chemist explains how easy it is to poison President Donald Trump's order, adding that all you need is to be employed at a specific location where he orders his food because it's marked for him, have access to undetectable compounds that cause symptoms similar to food poisoning, and have a background chemistry. Wow, that is really disgusting. That's just disgusting. I don't care who it is. Even if it was Biden, that's just no. That's just a no. Anybody. Like, what are you doing? You okay. Okay, let me change because Patty Case is saying there's no volume and she can't hear. Let me change this because I think this is the one thing I need to change. So, Patty, let me know if you can hear. Video is silent. Yep, that's the one thing I needed to change because I was like, I can hear it in my ears, but you guys can't hear it. Got it, got it. Let's try that again. Sorry, y'all missed the Kara video. It's crazy. Let's try this.
So apparently the reason why Trump eats so much McDonald's is because he's afraid of being poisoned, and he believes that it's nearly impossible for him to be poisoned with McDonald's food because it's fast food. It is incredibly easy to poison McDonald's food. I've seen it done before. I worked for McDonald's for over 10 years, and to poison Trump's McDonald's food, all you would need is access and employment at any McDonald's that fills his orders, because his orders are filled at specific McDonald's places and his orders are marked that they're for him. Access to undetectable compounds that cause symptoms similar to foodborne illnesses, and a background in chemistry. That's all you really need. And the ability to do it very, very sneakily because, yes, while his orders are being prepared, they are being watched. But I've seen people put their own bodily fluids in McDonald's foods. Not only is it easy to do that, but it's also easy just to tamper with the entire food system if you work for a factory that processes or produces the food that goes to McDonald's. And doing that would not only poison Trump, but everyone else. And that has happened too. Now, just because I know how to do it does not mean I have any intention or plans to do it. Do I have access to those kinds of compounds? Yes. Do I have a background in chemistry? Yes. Would I be able to get employed at one of those locations? Very easily if I moved there. Do I have the intentions of doing it? No, because it's just too much work, and it's just easier to wait for him to die of natural causes. He's already old. Please do not take this as anything for encouragement to do it. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is extremely easy to poison fast food. I've seen it done. It is also a felony. I've seen people arrested for it.
Well, you know, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. That it is extremely easy to poison fast food, basically because it's already poison. Let's just talk about how it's not food. Let's just start there. Okay. Let's just start with all the chemicals that it takes to make it look like it's actually food when it's not. Okay. I'm glad everybody can hear me this morning and everybody can hear the videos as well. It is a little bit different when I'm sharing from the screen, right? There's one other post that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, I don't want to say this is like a little bit out of context, but we are going to get into covering some of the footage from Iran. And so I do want to share some of the footage that is coming out of Iran where they were actually celebrating in the streets, right? So streets are exploding with fireworks, cars honking nonstop, massive crowds dancing, cheering, and straight up celebrating the death of Islamic dictator Ayatollah Khamenei. This gives Ilhan Omar the sads. Okay. That's from Gunther Eagleman. Now, this was on the 28th, so that was Saturday. Okay. And it is Monday. But yeah, people were celebrating in the streets, as you can see. They got fireworks going. So people in Iran are happy that this is happening. So, from the footage that I'm going to show you guys, you're going to see that, yeah, there are a lot of people that are, concerned about what's happening, praying for those who have put their lives on the line for us in our military and have lost their lives. We are praying for them and their families, right? Because conflicts like this, when they're started, we don't know how they're going to end. And if the end result is to give people freedom, then if that is their end result, okay. Because we're not in the situation room. So we don't know everything. They can only keep us updated as things occur, arise, and what they're actually trying to do. So with that, let's, I wanted to check out this video. It's from Eric Stakelbeck on TBN. And he had some pretty good reporting. I'm not going to play the entire video because it's almost like a half hour. But I did want to play a few minutes into it just to give you guys a little bit more context and perspective from a different perspective.
It is 2 a.m. in Tel Aviv, and the joint operation between the U.S. and Israel against Iran's regime continues. I'm Eric Stakelbeck. This is a TBN special report. Operation Epic Fury, that's what President Trump is calling it. Israel is calling it Operation Roaring Lion. We're wrapping up day 2 of this historic effort to, number one, depose Iran's regime. That's hopefully the end game here. But number 2, decimate Iran's nuclear weapons program. And more importantly, even perhaps at this juncture, its ballistic missile program. Over the next 30 minutes, we will bring you top experts, Middle East from DC and beyond, and unpacking what's happening in the world's most chaotic and strategic region right now and why it impacts you no matter where you live. Let's get up to speed right now. It's 7 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and what we have today some pretty major developments. Number one, we learned that 3 U.S. soldiers have been killed so far in this engagement. And President Trump spoke just a short while ago, and he said, look, there may be more casualties. That's the price that we have to pay here to once and for all eliminate the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism, the Iranian regime. So we have 3 U.S. deaths, sadly. Number 2, earlier today, an Iranian ballistic missile struck Bet Shemesh just outside of Jerusalem in Israel. 9 people were killed in that Iranian missile strike. And just a short while ago, another Iranian missile fell just outside of Jerusalem. Several people were wounded in that attack. In the meantime, Iran also continues to launch missiles and drones at the surrounding Arab and Muslim nations like Qatar, Bahrain, and in particular, the United Arab Emirates. So things are heating up on that front. But here's the good news. The United States and Israel have had smashing success over the past 48 hours in decimating Iran's military capabilities. And of course, yesterday, the big one, the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, he was killed in this joint U.S.-Israel operation. So Khamenei is no more. And also, you may remember a name, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Not too long ago, about a decade ago, he was the president of Iran, a notorious Israel hater, anti-Semite. He also was killed, we're hearing reports, in these engagements over the last 48 hours. So the question is now, how long does this all last? President Trump said, look, when he addressed the nation a short while ago, this could last for weeks. We're not quite sure, but he also added, and folks, key point here, that Iranian military officials, leaders, remaining leaders that haven't been eliminated, remember, some 40 of them were killed in the opening juncture of this offensive, but they are apparently behind the scenes, these Iranian leaders, reaching out to the U.S., the administration. They want to talk. Perhaps they want a deal to end the barrage against them, but it is unfolding right now as we speak, and we're joined right now by national security expert Victoria Coates. Victoria, always great to see you. Hey, you worked for President Trump, advised him during his first term, and I think a big takeaway here, peace through strength. We're seeing it right now, Victoria, in real time. Can you tell us a bit more about the total game changer, geopolitical and really historic game changer that Donald Trump has been, in particular in the second term? This has lasted, this Iranian crisis, through 7 presidencies dating back to 1979. Donald Trump is the first commander-in-chief to finally take the bold action needed to resolve it.
No, you're absolutely right, Eric, and great to be with you. Thank you for having me on. This is something everyone said you couldn't possibly do. You couldn't attack Iran. They were going to take all of these actions that were going to be so detrimental. And as the president pointed out tonight, and I would just add on that front, I mean, the president has addressed the American people twice in 2 days about what he's doing and why. We never heard from Joe Biden about the Ukraine war and what he was doing and why. And so what we have is the president reaching out, telling us, this is what's going to happen. He's not trying to sugarcoat anything. He, both on his first statement and then again tonight, talked about the possibility of casualties. Today, we had 3 casualties in Kuwait. We all mourn those heroes. The other, our prayers go out to the families of the wounded. But this is a president who's bringing the American people along. And what he's saying is, this is about your future. This is how we are going to make a better future for the people of the United States, where this threat isn't, hanging over your head 24/7 for another 47 years. So amazing job by our military over the last 36 hours. But there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah, President Trump, no doubt, is an historic figure. I think there's no doubt about it, Victoria, at this point. And every time it seems that he uses the military, and he doesn't want to use it. He wants to use it sparingly, of course, the full might of the U.S. military. But Victoria, it seems like he does it wisely, shrewdly, quickly. What sets apart the objectives here in Iran and what we've seen so far in this operation from previous U.S. operations in the Middle East in particular?
Well, he doesn't use our military as a messaging device. This isn't a pinprick strike, something Secretary Kerry said 10 years ago, just a little something. No, if he has an objective, he's going to go and he's going to get it. And he learned, it wasn't his wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, but he's learned the lesson of those wars, that in terms of our ability to impose democracy on other nations, we are very limited in that. And that's why his message to the Iranian people has been, this is going to be your mission. We are going to do this because to end the threat of a nuclear Iran is in the interests of the American people. Great. That's our mission. That's our errand. But if you want to take advantage of what we've done in terms of weakening the regime, in terms of giving you more latitude to act, great, then this is your moment, but you're going to have to take it. So rather than our coming in with hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground to turn Iran into, Virginia, we're rather going to let the Iranian people do that once we have removed the threat to the American people.
Yeah, the Iranian people have this golden opportunity now. We're praying they seize it. Hey, how about China and Russia, Victoria? I think of that modern day axis of evil, Iran, North Korea, China, Russia. The toppling of Iran's regime, God willing, what message does that send to China and Russia? And in a broader sense, how does it affect them? I'm thinking China with cheap oil and gas that we're getting from Iran, Russia and Iran, obviously a close alliance. Vladimir Putin mourned the death of Ayatollah Khamenei yesterday. What kind of impact does it have on our chief geopolitical adversaries, China and Russia?
Well, it hasn't been a great couple of days, Eric, to be a member of the so-called axis of evil. We could even take this back to January. And they've lost Venezuela as well. And Cuba is on the brink. And so President Trump, instead of just accepting the axis of evil as something that we have to deal with, he's like, no, I'm going to change this. I'm not going to leave these threats to the American people hanging over our heads. And so in doing what he has just done, as you mentioned, he's cut off Venezuelan cheap gas to China. We might be cutting off Iranian cheap gas to China. This is going to really impact Chairman Xi where he lives. And bear in mind, we have this very high stakes summit coming up between President Trump and Chairman Xi next month, theoretically in China. If that holds, President Trump is setting himself up to go in a position of enormous strength. And what has Xi been up to for the last 2 months? I haven't seen a lot of Chinese activity on the world stage.
Yeah, Victoria, well said. Hey, about 30 seconds left. Again, you advised President Trump during his first term. You know the man well. You know the administration well, how they operate. How would you describe, in about 30 seconds, the Trump doctrine and what we're seeing unfold right now in Iran?
No, I mean, this is, as you said, America first. This is peace through strength. This is the president flexing a lot of U.S. muscle in order to make a dramatic change. And so I think what we are going to see here is a new Middle East. He promised peace in the Middle East. He's about to deliver on it. And the key thing here, Eric, is Iran is isolated. Everyone told us Israel was going to be isolated if we went in. That's not the case. It's Iran that's isolated. The region is rallying behind particularly the United States and President Trump.
Victoria Coates, great breakdown as always. Folks, be sure to follow Victoria on X, across social media. Victoria, we'll see you again soon. Keep it up. God bless. And folks, one of the big developments we're seeing here, okay, number one, President Trump's action in Iran is weakening that axis. We're talking China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. That's a good thing. But also by extension, we're seeing a new alliance form perhaps in the Middle East, Israel and the U.S., of course, but joined in a more forceful way by Arab Muslim nations like Saudi Arabia, like the United Arab Emirates, like Bahrain, that are under fire right now, courtesy of Iran. The Iranian regime over the past 48 hours has fired hundreds of missiles, rockets, and drones at these Arab Muslim nations. Joining us now to break that down and the broader implications is our good friend. You know him very well, folks, host of the Rosenberg Report every Thursday night right here on TBN, editor-in-chief of All Israel News. Joel, you have spent so much time, not only in Israel, of course, where you're based, but in the Arab and Muslim world, meeting with the leaders of these nations, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, the list goes on. What are the ramifications here? Short-term, but long-term, now that they are under siege. The Iranian regime, again, has fired hundreds of missiles and drones at Arab Muslim nations surrounding Iran in the past 48 hours. Major regional shift, you think, may be in the offing here?
These are tectonic shifts in the region, Eric, absolutely. I think the Iranian regime has made several major strategic errors. First of all, of course, that they didn't listen to President Trump. They didn't believe that President Trump was going to keep his word and destroy their offensive military capabilities and take them down if they didn't make a serious, strong, verifiable deal. So that was catastrophic. And for Ali Khamenei, he lost his life over it. The top 40 most powerful, most wicked regime leaders are all dead, and there's more to come. So that's the first mistake they made. The second mistake they made was by not just retaliating against Israel. If they had just retaliated against Israel, then they would be sending the message throughout the region that really this is an Iran-Israel fight. But what they've done, the Iranian regime has attacked 16 nations throughout the entire Middle East. They've attacked almost every neighbor that they have, mostly moderate Sunni Arab states, who had signaled in recent weeks that they were going to be neutral, right? And the U.S. couldn't fly over their territory, and they weren't going to be involved. But the United Arab Emirates alone has taken more than 700 missile and drone attacks just in the last 48 hours. And all of them are now unified with President Trump and with Israel against the Iranian regime. This is a big deal. And I think the Sunni Arabs should actually militarily get involved in destroying the Iranian regime with us.
Wow, perhaps we see even an Arab version of NATO shaping up here, Joel. And you know, the UAE under fire, you and I were there together on the ground in Abu Dhabi just a few years ago, and we loved it there, and we're so impressed by everyone in the UAE, their great relationship with Israel. So let's see if they can kind of galvanize together with their fellow Sunni Muslim nations in the region. That may be coming.
Yes, and I'll definitely post this link so you guys can watch the rest of the video, but we need to get to some more news, but that's pretty intense, right? Just looking at, okay, now where are China and Russia going to get their, oil from? Now that Iran's kind of like shut down, right? And just in hearing what they said, I'm like, okay, because everybody's kind of like, yeah, President Trump said that, they kind of obliterated Iran, right? A couple, I guess, months back, right? They messed up their capability in one of their bunkers or whatever. And I think there is two different things going on. They still have a functioning military. They didn't take out the military at that time. They were taking out their ability to make certain types of weapons. So I think we're talking about two different things. Now, even still, there were people that were saying, sir, you've taken out most of it, maybe not all of it. And his thing was like, no, we've obliterated this part, right? They can't make anything else. Not that they can't attack anybody, right? So I think we're talking about two different things. So I just wanted to bring that up and keep that in mind when we're looking at all of this. And I wanted to go back to Grok really quickly, because you're also going to hear a lot of people say that we're at war and these are things are happening. And I wanted to look at the 1973 War Powers Resolution. I meant to bring that post up to you guys, and I didn't. And let me find it really quick, because it makes a powerful statement. So let me find it. And again, thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. Please share, like, and subscribe on YouTube. Share it around on Facebook. And if you are on X, please repost the stream so that other people can join us here on Unfiltered Vision News. It's been pretty crazy because my viewership was like close to 300 last year, and then it just drastically dropped. Know what happened? It was very crazy. It was just like, I'm fine here, but I just want to remind everybody, if channel does not get the amount of support it needs, I'm just going to have to give up the channel, because to continue to self-fund this channel, I definitely need the support of viewers and listeners out there. So I did put in the YouTube chat to go ahead and support the channel by going to unfilteredvisionnews.com. That is unfilteredvisionnews.com, where you can get the long form content of my shows as they are not available on YouTube, Facebook, or X after I take down the program. So again, thank you guys in advance for your assistance. And here's the post that I wanted to share with you. It says the War Powers Act of 1973, federal law, public law, 993-148, codified at 50 USC, well, Title 50 USC, sections 1541 and 1548, and it was passed by Congress and enacted on November 7th, 1973. The president doesn't need your authorization. Consult, yes. Authorization, no. So a lot of people have a lot of full outrage, and you'll see this picture floating around on social media. It says, I used ICE to deport 3 million Americans. At the same time, I bombed 7 countries, which happened without congressional approval. Where was your outrage then? I think they also took down Gaddafi during that time. Okay, I just wanted to see if there was anything else I was missing. Yeah, there were drone strikes. There was a lot of things going on under President Obama, and I think a lot of people forget that, right? They have selective outrage, right? The outrage is extremely, extremely selective, and it's very sad. Um, and top of the morning, peace and blessings. JJ, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. And I do hope everybody can hear me okay. I did take myself off of mute. So, and I did change the way you guys can hear the actual, how should I say, programs and videos that I do share with you. So here we're going to outline briefly the 1973 War Powers Resolution and Presidential Authority. Okay, so the War Powers Resolution, also known as the War Powers Act, was enacted in 1973 to limit the U.S. president's ability to engage the country in armed conflicts without congressional involvement, addressing concerns from the Vietnam War era. Its purpose is to ensure that the president can only commit U.S. armed forces to hostiles with congressional consent, except in specific circumstances, right? Thereby fulfilling the Constitution's allocation of war powers between the executive and legislative branches. Okay, so here's the key provisions. Reporting requirements. The president must notify Congress in writing within 48 hours of introducing U.S. forces into hostiles or situations where hostilities are imminent. This report must detail the circumstances, estimated scope and duration, and the constitutional or legislative authority for action. Ongoing consultations with Congress are required until forces are withdrawn. Time limits. Without congressional authorization via a declaration of war or specific statutory approval, such as an authorization for use of military force, U.S. forces cannot remain engaged in hostiles for more than 60 days, plus an additional 30 days for withdrawal. Okay. Now, there have been some reports out there, I don't think I included them in mine, that President Trump was saying we might be there 4 weeks. That would fulfill the 30 days under the 60 days. So he would still be within that window of time. And then there's another 30 days given for withdrawal. So right now, he's within this 60 days and 30 days, right? I'm just sharing with you guys what the feedback is. Now, congressional role. Congress can approve continued action or force withdrawal through resolutions or legislation. So they can approve continued action or, okay, they can say, or force withdrawal through resolutions or legislation. So they can say, hey, you need to pull back, right? But that's the gray area, right? So does that mean you draw back if it goes over 60 days, or do you draw back now? Like, what do you do? He's within his rights to do this. He's within his authority to do this. So what are you going to do? That's the bigger question. Now, the president's authority under the act is limited. They may introduce forces into hostiles only pursuant to 1, congressional declaration of war; 2, specific statutory authorization; 3, a national emergency created by an attack on the United States, its territories, possession, or armed forces. Presidents have historically interpreted their Article 2 commander-in-chief powers more broadly, often initiating limited actions without prior approval, but the act aims to curb unilateral escalations. So here's the outline of the recent conflict in Iran, right? As far as as of today, March 2nd, the U.S. is engaged in major military conflict with Iran, stemming from escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program and regional activities. On February 28th, the U.S., in coordination with Israel, launched Operation Epic Fury and Roaring Lion, conducting airstrikes and naval operations targeting Iranian nuclear facilities, military strikes, and leadership. This included the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, confirmed on March 1st, along with other high-ranking officials. Over 2,000 targets have been struck, with the U.S. achieving air superiority over parts of Iran and striking 9 Iranian naval vessels. Now, Iran retaliated swiftly, firing missiles at Israel and U.S. bases in countries including Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and the United Arab Emirates. Explosions were reported in cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. Iranian-backed groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and militias in Iraq have vowed revenge and conducted attacks, including missile strikes on Israel. Casualties include at least 12 Israelis killed in missile strikes. 3 U.S. service members were killed and 5 wounded during operations. Iranian reports indicate 48 leaders killed, with protests and celebrations mixed in Tehran. So we definitely want to pray for those that have lost their lives on either side. War is unfortunately very sad, right? People don't think about those that have lost family members. So I'm definitely praying for those who've lost family members in this situation, whether they're from Iran or whether they are from Israel or the United States, anybody, right? The civilians, people forget that there are civilians that get caught up in this. So we're praying for them as well in their losses. So the conflict has disrupted regional air travel, with thousands of flights canceled and heightened fears of a protracted war. President Trump has stated the operation could last 4 to 5 weeks or less, emphasizing regime change and preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, while warning of potential further U.S. casualties. Markets in the Middle East have reacted negatively, and international calls for de-escalation are growing. Okay, well then somebody's got to capitulate, and it should be Iran. They're the ones chanting death to America. They just have been for a while. Now, current president's authority in reference to the 1973 Powers Act. The current U.S. President Donald Trump initiated these strikes without prior congressional authorization, relying on his Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief to conduct operations in the national interest. He notified congressional leadership, including the Gang of Eight, ahead of time and submitted a formal War Powers Resolution report within 48 hours, describing the actions as necessary to counter imminent threats from Iran's nuclear and missile programs. However, the administration did not cite specific statutory authority beyond constitutional powers, and critics argue this violates the War Powers Resolution and Constitution's requirement for congressional approval for acts of war. Lawmakers from both parties have demanded a vote on war powers resolutions to restrain further actions, with proposals like those from Representative Ro Kahan and Thomas Massey in the House, and Tim Kaine and Senator Tim Kaine in the Senate, requiring explicit congressional consent. Legal experts contend the strikes constitute a war necessitating congressional declaration or authorization, and that the 60-day clock under the act has started, potentially forcing withdrawal without approval. Trump has questioned the act's constitutionality, echoing past presidents who have conducted operations with full compliance. Polls show mixed public support, with about 43% disapproving of the strikes, and protests highlighting concerns over illegal war. Congress could use appropriations or resolutions to limit the operation, but historical efforts to enforce the act have often failed. Okay. That was a lot. That was a lot to unpack there. But yeah, there is a back and forth, unfortunately, within our country of where we need to be at when it comes to conflicts like this. But people have to remember what happened in Benghazi, right? What happened to Muammar Gaddafi. Now, a lot of those situations, it turned into a vacuum, and that's how we ended up with some of these other terrorist organizations, right? And that happened, and they left a vacuum. So what's going to happen in Iran? Will there be proper regime change? Because you guys aren't going to do it. You're saying, hey, the people need to decide who their next leader is going to be. Now, I'm going to play you some different videos of people who are for and against this, but I at least wanted to set the stage of legally where Donald Trump is. Now, is it a gray area? I see it as a little gray, because even though he's doing what he wants, what he's supposed to do, it depends on what Congress is going to do next, right? And because they have such a personal bias against the president, honestly, they don't care about the American people. I'm sorry. The House and the Senate, you guys have lost it. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, you're not taking care of the American people. And we all see it, and we all know it, and there's no denying it anymore. You can't go back. You can't put this genie back in the bottle. But this is going to really be a true representation of what you do next. What are you going to do next? Are you going to say, okay, we have to withdraw the troops now? You will leave a vacuum, and that will create more terrorist activity, and you know it. And you know it. So you better do this right. You better sit down with the president and do this properly, because we do not need another vacuum. We do not need another Al Qaeda, because that's what happened under Gaddafi. There was a vacuum that was left. Okay. And terrorist organizations sprung up. And that's why we're still here right now. So again, do it right, or follow protocols the way you're supposed to. Now, with that, we're going to look at, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit because I forgot to go over that war powers thing with you guys. Because like I said, I just want you guys to be educated. I don't want my audience, and I consider you guys an amazing audience, I don't want you to be behind the 8 ball in essence, right? And Damage Inc. says Democrats like to be lazy and say that President Trump said he would stop all wars, and what he truly said was he will stop all forever wars. And you're exactly right. And this is one of them. I mean, it's like every time you turn around, it's like, y'all fighting again? Y'all fighting again? Why are you fighting? Why are people chanting death to America? Why are you poking us? We're not even over there. Like, I mean, it's just this whole thing. And Spud says, we have the president we have now because the Democrats refuse to address the interests of Black Americans. Very true. Very true. Right. And with that being said, I look at what's happening in the conflicts, but I also look at what Iran's doing. So you said you're in conflict with Israel, then why are you bombing Qatar? What does Dubai have to do with this? Why are you messing with your neighbors? If this is about one particular area, why are you messing with your neighbors? Now you just got enemies everywhere. Now they're all banding together along with the United States to go, okay, we need to shut y'all down because you're wild. You're out of control. We're not going to continue to have these wars. It's you. It's not us because we're all good. We may not be besties, right? We may not be the best of friends, but at least we're not trying to take each other out. But Iran, y'all are a mess. And you're going to also see a few different things as I cover them coming up where, is Iran really Iran or is it Persia? Right. So let's get to this video with Alex Jones, and he's going to talk a little bit about the attack that happened in Austin, Texas. Okay, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but apparently there was a situation at a bar, and some people lost their lives too. So we definitely need to be praying for them.
Well, I even in the clip yesterday, I talked about it probably for 30 minutes. I'm going to play the whole thing. I explained how I believe Texas would be the first target of Islamic Shiite terror. And I said within the next week or two, guaranteed, the U.S. gets hit. And I said, I think we'll hit Texas first. Here we are yesterday at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I'm not going to play the whole compilation. The crew did a great job. I just told them to give me one example off the show yesterday. And I think they got like 5 or 6 where I specifically explain why. And I only play this so you remember that I know what I'm talking about. And I've got all this quantum information that I feed in, and then I tell you what I'm really thinking. And I continue to, here's an example. Friday, I said, I believe they will strike at 6 p.m. Central tomorrow, because it's dark over there by then, the middle of the night. And then we learned that the White House has admitted this, that the Iranians knew that we always strike at night because the systems are designed for that. And so they all met at the big Supreme Council building, the Ayatollah and the top generals, insanely in the day. And so they launched the operation right then. As soon as they saw the meeting start, and thank God it went on for a couple of hours. I mean, if it was a successful mission, and they took them all out, dropping 30 bombs on them, and they killed the Ayatollah then. So there was the White House on Fox News, the general going, we were going to hit them about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock U.S. time, but the president had the bold move. We were able to do it during the day, though it's more dangerous. We don't like to do that, but we couldn't miss this opportunity. I mean, I would have nailed it again at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, just because I could just see all the things lining up, all the numbers, the way the propaganda was working, the way the planes were all set up. You could tell what's real and what's not. Because, Trump said he was going to hit a bunch of other times as part of a negotiation. I said, Friday, this is not a negotiation. We're hitting them. And all this other calculus that would take hours to get into went into me saying, I think there's going to be sleeper cell attacks, mass shootings, bombings, you name it. And I think Texas. And I said Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. You have to understand, folks, I do this over and over again because this is what I do. So when I give you more approximations, not really predictions, but prime approximations, I think you should listen to me. But I guess people do, so why am I saying that? Let's go to the clip from yesterday afternoon, hours before the attack in Austin, down the road. If the Ayatollah is dead, this is a big deal, obviously.
Very big deal.
The Iranians said they would attack all of Israel's allies, which they've attacked, 8 countries now, blowing up apartment buildings, hitting U.S. bases, showing precision, sometimes not precision, other times. They've also said they would activate proxy sleeper cells here in the U.S. and then they have really professional groups out of any of the Muslim groups. Do you have any intel on that, on them launching terror attacks that if they do it, I think will make what we saw in Mexico last week look tame?
Yeah, I've been asking about the sleeper cells. That's been my biggest concern. I've been asking DHS for a specific number in regards to the sleeper cells. How many have we captured so far? Because as you know, and as our viewers know, they've actually allowed thousands into this country under the Biden regime. And so now we're asking, well, how many of these people have you captured prior to all of this going down? Because I would assume you'd, before launching an attack, would want these people apprehended. They have not yet provided me with the official number as of yet. That is the concerning part in all of this. So we don't have anything from DHS. But
well, I don't think they even know. But I mean, there's millions of Shiites in the country.
Absolutely, there are, and that's one of the main things I've been asking about. Still no questions there. Now, DHS is telling me that Kristi Noem is monitoring, obviously, the issue. You'd expect that kind of response for her. But those who I know who are working within the FBI's counterterrorism division are the ones who are telling me to also be on high alert for potential cyber attacks. Now,
breaking: Reuters confirms the Iranian Ayatollah Khomeini is dead. And the U.S. is, I think it's fair to say, bracing for the activation of proxy forces, which they said they would do. And they've done exactly what they said, just full escalation. The last thing would be that promise being fulfilled. There's a large Shiite community here in Austin. Even when I was in high school at Anderson High, there was a large community of them. Now so they have Somalis that are mainly here just to rob and stuff up in Minnesota and Ohio. But if you look at, as you know, Dallas, Plano, all those areas, Houston, San Antonio, but Dallas mainly, I mean, it is Shiite city.
Yeah.
And so we've seen, a lot of where they have a, draw Muhammad contest or burn the Koran deal, they come try to kill people at those. So they're not playing games. And so on Warren, fellow Texans, we're kind of an epicenter of a potential Shiite attack.
I was never a big fan of DHS and the quick expansion of our federal government, but we're living in different times now. So the reality of it is we should be worried that this could potentially affect the American people and our safety and security. Now, again, DHS after the Biden regime did tell us that there were hundreds of known terrorists released into our country. So you could just assume that there's thousands, millions at this point, because they won't give us an official number. And although, we have an administration that tells the borders closed and it's secure right now, my source is telling me that that's not 100% certain. And keep in mind, it's not just the southern border. The majority of known terrorists coming into this country do, in fact, come from our northern border, and it's been open for years. I've been waiting for the latest numbers in regards to that, how many have been captured. But I think the last data that did come out was back in 2023, and it showed that, yes, in fact, that hundreds of known terrorists were brought into our country thanks to Canada. Now, Canada hasn't been doing a good job at manning their border with the United States as well, and I think that's the reason why President Trump has been so hard on them when it comes to the tariffs, because they don't take it seriously. And when it comes to, well, is Canada working with the United States, my source is telling me they're not actually working with the United States to secure that border, and that's been the big one. They, in fact, are strongly relying on the local sheriffs along the border, the northern border, to help with that. But again, it's not really being done and carried through by the Canadian government itself. Now, that's the reason why President Trump, again, isn't letting up on the tariff issue with Canada. Now, again, just to kind of walk through it, obviously the FBI director coming out and saying that we are, in fact, keeping our eye out for any sleeper cells that might actually start popping up. But I don't think they actually have a real handle on this number at this point. A lot of these individuals, according to sources I've spoken to, do hide out in a lot of these Muslim compounds that are popping up all across the state of Texas, but more specifically these mosques, because they deem that they are actually immune, thanks to the Constitution, to kind of being surveilled. So that's been a big one. Is where are these people? They think that these ICE raids and these raids that are taking place all across the country will not be carried through at mosques if they're hiding in a place of worship. It's up to the American people, though, to start having the argument if Islam is even a religion. I would argue, no, it's not. And so I think that doesn't apply to them. I think our federal government should be raiding these mosques, because places like Epic, which is the East Plano Islamic Center, although they haven't built up completely, they do, in fact, have great, I've driven through it. They do quite have a nice facility, a nice little area that they've been able to build up over these last few years. In fact, if you drive through Epic in Plano, you'll notice that their street signs are all actually named after Islamic conquerors. And that's not a coincidence, folks. These people came here with the goal of conquering the West and conquering the United States. Now they've weaponized our Constitution against the American people. And that's the thing that we need to be pushing back on again. We need to continue to go out there and say that we're not going to allow this to happen. happen. We're not going to sit there and allow them to pretend like they are a religion of peace, a religion at all. They have done their very best to build up here in the homeland, and we need to be fearful of what they have next for us. So between all of that, I would say that the threat in the homeland is severe. Obviously, our audience is well aware, well equipped, and my advice for all my friends and family has been, getting off and on the phones with people is stockpile water, food, supplies, ammo, everything you need to get by, because we don't actually know what's going to happen. When it comes to national security, I don't think we're prepared for an attack on the homeland, to be blunt with you. I mean, the specific questions that I'm asking and I continue to ask go unanswered, and I think a lot of people are very jarred when I, talk about.
Well, that's because for 4 years, we saw all the military-aged men from Islamic countries, same backpack, same boots, clearly officer class just pouring in. And then some would say, yeah, I'm here from Iran, I'm going to kill your ass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I don't
All
think
right, folks, so that's enough of me and Brianna predicting this yesterday.
Yeah. And the one thing that Brianna said is they're using our Constitution against us. And you can see how that happened in that meeting, right? And that was in Texas, where CARE had been deemed a terrorist organization. Let me say that one more time. They deemed it terrorist organization. And the council there is like, well, we still have to hear from them because there's still a First Amendment. What? Huh? You're going to give a terrorist organization rights. See, that's what's wrong with our country. That's what's wrong, because it should have been shut down. And it should have been like, ma'am, you're here representing a terrorist organization. Is that what you're telling us right now? Is that what you're saying right now? And ICE should have been called immediately, and that person should have been sequestered immediately for ICE to go ahead and deal with them. You're a terrorist organization. What? Why aren't we calling the FBI again? This person is what? And we're saying they got First Amendment rights? That's the problem. That's a problem. And here's my thing. People that are allowing this and that are going along with this and capitulating with this, they need to be in prison, period. I need some charges brought up on some people. You are a traitor to this country. I'm going to say that one more time. That man sitting there that says a terrorist organization has a First Amendment right here in our country is a traitor. You need to be in prison. That wasn't their First Amendment rights. They were there making demands. They weren't spouting their opinion. They were there saying, we want this for our school system. By the way, we've got Sharia law courts in your state, by the way. And they're in several states, not just Texas. They're in Michigan as well. What are we doing? We are either going to have a constitution in a country or we're not. And right now, I don't see that we are. Our country is definitely devolving. We need to pray without ceasing. And with that, let's get to some of this Fox coverage about the incident in Texas that happened over this weekend.
I want to bring this in now. I've been telling everybody about the Austin mass shooter, and now we have a picture. And this is what we're finding out. Per multiple federal law enforcement sources to our own Bill Malhusian, the Austin mass shooter is a 53-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Senegal and was living in Pflugerville, Texas. Material recovered from his person and inside the vehicle give possible indications of a nexus to terrorism, as the FBI announced earlier today. And remember what we said he had in his possession and was also wearing. The shooter was wearing clothing that said Allah on it. His sweater said property of Allah. And there's also known to be an undershirt with an Iranian flag and other materials inside. And remember what Representative Michael McCall of Texas just told me last hour. He said, Harris, in my own backyard, just last night, we had an event that possibly could have been terror-inspired right here in Austin, Texas. This is what he was talking about. Brett, I was reminding Americans this is not a new place for us to be in terms of keeping our heads on a swivel. But it bears repeating, we've lost Americans in the fight on the battlefield, and protecting the homeland now is also something that we must be on the alert. Now, authorities have not tied this Austin situation to what's happening in
Now, here's what's concerning. This person, she stated he was a naturalized U.S. citizen. We naturalized that person to live here freely amongst us. That's a problem. Are we properly vetting? Because there was nothing about this person being radicalized. Huh? That's the problem. We have these things going on. How are they getting in? Who's allowing this? Somebody's allowing this. And see, that's why I always go back to whoever signed on the dotted line and you knew who these people were and you let them in our country, you need to be in prison as well because you're allowing this. Members of Congress, if you don't get a hold of this immediately, Republicans and Democrats, stop with this ridiculous fighting, because what I don't want to see is I don't want to see people in a stadium of any kind and it get blown up, because see, that's what these people want to do to us. They want to destroy everything that's over here. They do not care. They're not trying to build anything up. They're trying to have as much blood and gore as possible. They're trying to kill as many American citizens as possible. They do not care. We need to keep that in mind.
The Middle East as terror related to that, but they are investigating it just moments ago, confirming as a possible terror attack. Your reaction?
Well, we have to remain vigilant. I mean, Khamenei, he was a religious figure. We don't know if this attack was associated, but it very well may be. But the fact is, this isn't a representation of how most people from that region feel. The Iranian people, they fear their own rulers more than our own military. They hate, their own oppressive rulers than anyone else. And we may see more attacks like this. We have to be vigilant. There are proxy groups everywhere that are looking for ways to harm Americans and hurt Americans. And but the fact of the matter is, overall, there are images right now showing most Iranians and most Shias celebrating today, not because of war, but because they hate their own rulers more than anyone else. That's a sign that we're striking, not just at their military, we're striking at the legitimacy of a brutal regime. The Iranian people want better relationships with the West. They have the potential to be our biggest ally. I think it's important we collectively separate the terrorist regime from that of the majority Iranian people. These people have spent decades, trying to hurt us. And so the fact is, again, we just need to remain vigilant in the wake of these strikes.
Look, I don't.
Okay, so you can watch the rest of that video. I gotta keep time. I got a few more videos to share with you guys and get to some more news. So I wanted to share from a righteous perspective. And there's this gentleman. There's a few clips he's going to share on here. But yeah, CNN forced to air Iranian American and what he had to say. But we're going to start the clip at the beginning.
When you see people that are supposed to be Americans fighting so hard for our enemies. I mean, I'm watching Democrats and liberals fight for our enemies. Last summer, you remember they were burning American flags, the Palestinians, for Hamas at the Capitol? And now I see these people crying about the Iranian regime being overthrown. Imagine that. Freedom for the Iranian people. There's videos everywhere of them celebrating in the streets. But to a Democrat, that's a bad thing. Freedom is a bad thing. I just don't understand these people. I'm beginning to think that they're the enemy of the people of America.
Doesn't that look familiar? Look at these people. Look at these people. These protests are not organic. I think we all know that now, right?
So I'm here with Jen and Sean. Hi guys. And we're in Times Square. There's a protest going on behind us. about what's happening with the attacks on Iran. Jem, you got a sign there. White men ruin everything, along with other things. Tell us, why are you here? What's your thoughts?
We're sick of old white men like Donald Trump destroying the world. Plain and simple. I know not all white men are bad, but the ones in power today seem to really take the cake.
And how about the old other men, like the Ayatollahs and others? Are they a problem?
The who?
The Ayatollahs and others, are they a problem?
Who's that? I don't.
Okay. You don't know the Ayatollah in Iran?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, you mean the president of Iran?
Or the president?
Is that? Oh, he's bad. Okay. And we do not like him.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling back up today. I got to do this video. I had to. These people are outrageous, man. These liberals are outrageous, but I came across this daggone picture here. Hold up. You guys got to see this. Take a look. Can you all see this? It says the biggest threat to Western civilization: Russia, China, Islam, white liberal women with liberal arts degrees. Hilarious, because it's absolutely right. It's so true. Oh my goodness, man. The jokes write themselves. This is crazy, man. These liberals are out of their minds, and they're showcasing on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, month-to-month basis, on an annual basis, how wicked and insane they are and how anti-America they are. They're outrageous. They really are. We got so much to get into. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
Mr. Mark Ruffalo, why are you talking about the ICE, that one single woman that died, that came in front of ICE? I don't understand where you guys want to take this with Gaza and Hamas and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Neither of you have lived under the Islamic Republic tyranny that you guys are talking about the death of one single woman that have came in front of an ICE agent, a police. And you guys are talking about, you guys have human rights. You guys have everything that you need in your life. We have been taken, our lives have been taken away from us. You guys have everything, and you guys once have one president in your country that wants the best for the people of America that have built the land for 250 years. America has a right to have a country. America has a right to have a country as much as Iranians have a right to have a country. So let's get the facts right here. All right? Let's not get ourselves lost in this illusion that you guys have been building for us, for people.
He's absolutely right. And I can feel his passion, because when you listen to these liberals, and we're going to get into it, when you listen to these people, they just let you know that they don't care about people. They don't have a compassion for people. They have zero empathy, and they're only out here to grandstand and gaslight. That's it. Let y'all check these videos out. Let's go.
Hey folks, this morning, the United States, while this administration launched a major attack on Iran, as I see this, hey, there's no real plan here. And often these things do not go the way people think they do, especially the people that don't serve in the military, like this president. Often they're the ones that think every solution is to drop a bomb. And by the way, this is the guy that got us into this mess anyway. He, in his first term, he ripped up the Iran nuclear deal, which then put the Iranians on a path to further enrich uranium. Did that strike this summer that operationally was a success. Strategically, as we see now, not so much. So I'm really concerned about troops on the ground in Iran. We don't need that. We don't need more dead Americans and trillions of dollars of our tax dollars spent on this. I think the president owes the American people an answer on what is the strategy here? What is the goal? Is it getting rid of the Iranians' nuclear capability, which, by the way, this administration said was obliterated last summer? Or is it getting rid of ballistic missiles? Or is it regime change? We need an answer, and we need a vote in the United States Congress.
Let's keep going.
And so if you really did want the Iranian people themselves to rise up in some kind of popular uprising and totally change their form of government, if you wanted the beleaguered and oppressed Iranian people to organize very quickly into a new populist political force to rise up against, among other things, the security services there that have been massacring them by the thousands this month and last. If you wanted that to happen, you probably could have taken some steps to help that happening, to make sure they can organize and can communicate. Right? Maybe you would have turned the internet back on. And when you, Donald Trump, in your baseball hat, proclaimed on that weird taped message today that the Iranian police and the security forces and the Revolutionary Guard must surrender, they must lay down their weapons, as Donald Trump said this morning at 2:30. If that was what you wanted to happen, because you wanted the domestic security situation to become less dangerous for the Iranian people to rise up and overthrow their government, if you actually wanted to make that happen instead of just saying it, you as the U.S. government, maybe you as the U.S. government in coalition with other allies that you might have bothered to bring on board, you might have given the Iranian police and Revolutionary Guard and security services some instructions on how to surrender and lay down their weapons. Some path to do that, which Trump did not.
These are the stupidest people on the planet. So he's supposed to tell them that, hey, by the way, at this time, we're coming through. You guys need to get ready. Come on, man. Who in their right mind would give anybody a heads up that, hey, we're coming for y'all behinds? So they got some.
And I'll leave the rest of the clip. I mean, it was almost laughable. I was like, really? This is where we're at? Terrorists, can you guys stop doing what you're doing? That's not how this works. Stop that. Just a mess. And let's see, Carlton Banks says Democrats and Republicans believe everything they hear on their news source of choice. Wake up, America. Yeah. And Shadowhawk says, why didn't the Democrats and Republicans do this before now? You really care about women. Yeah. Poignant questions. It's like, you guys do have the ability. And it's weird because they're only triggered when it's something they don't like. But I'm like, the legislative body, you guys do have more control than the president to get things done. Now, there are things in his purview, under his authority. Absolutely. But there are some things that are under your purview and authority. And you're always behind the 8-ball playing catch up, as opposed to just doing the work that the American people want you to do. Like, I'm going to bring up the SAVE Act again. Really get the SAVE Act done and passed, but you're not going to do that because you still want to hold people hostage. Just admit it. You still want us to have all these beleaguered questions about what's happening in our country, but you don't want to get the work done and do the job. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with you not doing your job. That means you need to be replaced. That means all the senators need to be replaced this coming up election. Nobody should run unopposed. Nobody should run not primaried. Everybody needs to be primaried. Nobody needs to run unopposed. And we can't keep sending the same crazy people back to Washington. We can't. We can't. Texas, I'm praying for y'all because this is ridiculous. What's happening in your state? Just all around. What's happening in Texas is a mess. Okay. But we have 50 states. We've got the representatives that we have right now. And if they are not doing their job, do not keep sending them back. It's real simple. If you weren't doing your job and you got fired, is your boss going to say, well, yeah, maybe we should bring you back? I know we fired you, but we should bring you back. No, you're fired. And that's it. So let's do a better job. Now let's check this out. Doc Rich, he's got a little bit of a different perspective and pointing some things out.
If you around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Uncle Trump isn't coming to play. He's not coming to play. Now, I'm sure you guys have been bombarded with these videos of Iran and everything else. I get it. But I want to talk about it from a little bit of a different angle, because there's been something that has been going absolutely viral. And that is, not only is Trump receiving some backlash from Democrats, which we already knew was going to happen. The Democrat strategy is oppose anything and everything that Trump ever does or says. So we understand that. But he's getting some flack from some Republicans as well. And I find it quite interesting, and we're going to dive into it here in a second. All right, but I want to play a couple of clips for you guys to just show you how the people of Iran actually feel. Now, let me see here. Where's that video clip? I want to play this video clip from CNN. This clip is from the middle of the night in Iran. Check it out. So you heard some of that there, middle of the night, and people yelling, screaming, cheering, extremely happy, extremely happy that this is happening. I got some more clips as well. Here's another one.
How can you be silent? This is not okay. I'm no longer going to support Democrats. You Iranians, none of you should support Democrats. I'm honest. Honestly, I'm livid. I'm livid. I'm done with them completely. Just acknowledge the truth. Islamist Marxism is a terrorist entity. 90 million Iranians held hostage for 47 years because of your silence. American people, this is not about being politically correct. This is not about Islam. This is not about religion. This is about a cult. I beg you, I urge everyone, Democrat, Republican, please stand for people of Iran. This time, please stand by us. I beg you. I beg you.
And so I played a couple of those clips. Obviously, I've got more as well. You know, I got this individual calling out, you know, Hollywood celebrities and whatnot. Got this other clip of this woman talking about it. I've got other clips, and I'm sure you guys have seen lots of them as well, but I'm not going to bore you with that because I'm sure you guys have seen those already. As a matter of fact, I may come back to this video clip here after a little bit. But what I want to talk about is these Republicans that have come out and spoke out against what it is that Uncle Trump is doing. And one of those is a viral... Here, I want to... Let's put them up on the screen. So here you have the list of individuals who have spoken out against what Uncle Trump did in Iran. Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Jake Shields, Myron Gaines, the Hodge twins, Owen Schroyer, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, I don't know what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She went from like one of the cool folks that I genuinely liked to like all of a sudden overnight, I mean, she was like a Democrat. Anything and everything Trump says or does, like she's out there speaking out against it. I don't get it. I don't know. And then of course, you got Thomas Massey, who's about to lose his primary race. Shout out to us. So yeah, you got those individuals. And like I said, they've been all receiving a whole lot of backlash across the internet. And I want to show this post in particular from the Hodge twins. It says, President Trump has completely lied to his voters, backstabbed our country, and has disgraced his legacy beyond repair at this point. Biggest fall from grace I have ever seen. Interesting. Biggest fall from grace I have ever seen. Like this whole comment section, did y'all get kidnapped or someone else doing your post? Eat a bag of, I'm sick of you two. Is showing like, actually watching you fall is eye-opening. I support my president. I think we will all be okay. Sigh. I get you make money off of rage bait content, but it's ironic that you have to lie in order to try to paint Trump as a liar. Holy crap, what happened to these guys? So they've been receiving a whole lot of backlash across the internet. And apparently I've been losing a lot of followers. And this is what I have to say about it. I don't mind what it is that they have to say. I don't agree with it. Trump has, hold on, let me go back to it. Trump has backstabbed us? How? Trump has backstabbed our country and disgraced his legacy? How? Trump, every promise that Trump made, he's either kept it or he's doing his best to keep it, right? At the end of the day, he's not a dictator, and I understand that we have people like John Thune, Susan Collins, amongst others, Mitch McConnell, right? We got Thomas Massey, we got Dan Crenshaw, Tom Tillis, amongst others, who literally pushed back against him. So what is he supposed to do? He signed a record number of executive orders. A record number of executive orders. He's done his job. He's put pressure on them publicly. He called John Thune out at the State of the Union address. Called him out. He said, we can't let that happen, John. Called him out. So what else is he supposed to do? I mean, we gave him the House, we gave him the Senate because we wanted him to push through his agenda. He's attempting to do that. But it's people that we elected that are slowing him down. That's our fault. That's not his. So again, how is he backstabbing us? What, because he took down the leader of Iran? And it just so happened that that's what Israel wanted to do? Because a lot of what these folks are saying is that we're basically Israel's puppets, right? Which I don't necessarily believe, but let's play along with it. Let's say that we are Israel's puppets. Would you rather be Israel's puppets or China's? There's a question for you, because we all know the Democrats would sell us out for they'd sell us out for China in a heartbeat, right? Here's another.
Yeah, yes, and I'll let you review or check out the rest of Doc Rich's video. But a lot of stuff that he's pointing out is not wrong. But now you're starting to see the MAGA conflict, right? And here's what happens when you induct an ideology within your party. When your party is based on ideology and it's not based on a movement, this is what you get. I'm just telling you. This is where we are. And this is even on the Democratic side. It's a bunch of ideologies and beliefs and feelings. And stop it, because all of your emotions are making horrible long-term decisions. Horrible. Okay? Stop making long-term decisions in an emotional state. We, the American people, we deserve better. And if you can't do your job, then you need to be out of office. Now, the video that I had up before this, A Righteous Perspective, he actually goes into a video where he talks about Jasmine Crockett and just, her stance and different things. So I do encourage you guys to watch the videos all the way through. I just only have so much time on my program. But I also wanted to bring up the fate model. And I brought this up to you guys before, but I wanted to bring it up again. So the fate model is most commonly referred to as a psychological and behavioral influence framework developed by Chase Hughes, a behavioral expert, author, trainer in areas like persuasion, interrogation, and human behavior. It stands for focus, a focus and novelty. Humans prioritize and respond strongly to things that capture attention, especially anything new, unexpected, or salient. Okay. Authority. We are wired to defer to perceived and credible leaders or experts for survival reasons. Tribe, belonging to a group or aligning with us-them dynamics, strongly shapes decisions and loyalty. Emotion, strong emotional triggers, fear, love, fear, anger, love, etc., override logical and drive behavior. So this model explains core entry points into the human mind for influence, persuasion, sales, compliance, and even manipulation based on evolutionary survival mechanisms passed down from ancestors, right? So the current events as of March 2026 can indeed be analyzed and related through this lens, as the model is designed to describe how people respond to real-world stimuli, especially in high stakes or uncertain times. So here are major ongoing themes and events often align with or exploit the fate elements. So for the focus and novelty, many current stories dominate attention through novelty or shock value. Rapid developments in AI advancement, long ongoing debates, fairness, ethics, and models from groups like Microsoft, Fate Initiative, biotech breakthroughs, or sudden geopolitical shifts. Media and social platforms amplify novel or breaking items to hijack focus, making people more receptive to messaging. Authority, trust in institutions, experts, and leaders is heavily tested right now. Events involving scientific announcements. Tribe polarization remains intense in politics, culture, and online communities. Emotion, many events trigger strong feelings like fear, anger, or despair. Okay. Now, in essence, yes, the fate model is highly applicable to interpreting why current events unfold the way they do and how people react. It frames them not just as isolated news, but as triggers hitting deep psychological levers. Okay. I just wanted to bring that up because it's the way things are being done. There's so much news, but it's the way it's being done, and we need to stay focused and very hyper vigilant. Very hyper vigilant. So, lastly, I wanted to bring up this video, and this is from a righteous perspective. This is a pastor. I think it's called, oops, I have to find it, the Lion Community or something like that. I've seen him before, but I'm not super familiar with his complete platform. But he's been played. Like I said, I've played some of his videos before. So we're gonna check him out and check out his perspective, right? On what's going on in this situation biblically, right? That's the thing. It's like, okay, according to the Bible, let's see. I don't know his name. Hopefully his name will be mentioned in the video, and I'll try to make sure I leave a link so you guys can check him out later on.
This is what I'm talking about. All of these people on social media telling you about this president. So let's get this right. Okay? How many know that it's wise that if somebody keeps threatening you and says, as soon as I finish building this machine gun, I'm going to empty it on your house. And you watching them build a machine gun and they tell you, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to empty it on your house. How many know it might be wise for you to hit them first? Anytime you got the country that is one of the most craziest countries, Iran pushes. We're not talking about the people, it's government. The Iranian government pushes terrorism more than any other country on planet Earth. That is a simple fact, okay? And anytime these people stand up from a podium and constantly say, we're gonna hit Israel and we're gonna hit the United States and we're gonna wipe y'all off the map. And then they already proved it with sending 300 bombs in one moment over to Israel. Okay, so let's watch this pattern. Now we went over there and we took out their plant so that they can do this to us. See, one of the things about the United States, she has had her problems and she always will have her problems, just like you have your problems. But there's a technology that there's a reason why the two countries that have better technology than anyone else, hands down, is the United States and Israel. Hands down. Israel is the only country that the United States actually purchased weapons from because they have Patriot systems that are on a higher level than ours. Okay? And so, but that's for a reason, for precision. The enemy doesn't care where he hits you. But with people that are godly or righteous or trying to be careful, they have precision. So that's why he told them, so he did that with Iran, okay? And then the people, what they don't show you on the news is the Iranian people were rejoicing, okay? Then you know that we had a situation in Nigeria where they were killing all those Christians. So he went over there, sent the special forces over there and wreaked havoc on these fools and killed them. The Nigerian people were rejoicing. They called me. Then he flew over to Venezuela and picked up the president of Venezuela. Flew him by the Statue of Liberty to show him what freedom looks like. Threatened Colombia and said, you next, you better watch your behind. Okay? But then went back to Venezuela and threatened them and says, I will drop more bombs on you if you don't let go of those 800 pastors that guy put in jail. See? You see this pattern of every time he goes into something, you see three things. He goes in, the media talks about him like a dog. but the people rejoice after he makes the decision. The Iranian people have been in straight bondage for decades. Their government recently has been killing its own citizens in large numbers. They do not let the gospel in, and they shut down the internet so that the people could not send out messages to around the world. Look at what our government is doing to us. How many know we got CIA? We got CIA operatives around the world. They probably, some of them here right now. And so you can't hide from us. And so Donald Trump said, okay, that's it. That's it. He said, these Iranian people have been crying for freedom for a long time. So they hooked up with Israel, and the Holy Ghost told me, he said, this is not about bombs. He said, this is about the people, he said, who will get saved as a result of evil being suspended. Okay? There are some instructions God can't tell men because they don't have the ability to listen. They'll rather listen to their denomination or their political persuasion or listen to their whatever. Holy Ghost, he made that clear. He said, we do things in threes. He said, the Israelis are going after the men. He said, Trump is going after the machines. He said, you all go after the demonic forces that are behind it all. The purpose of the church, everything you see in the movies is speaking of something good or evil or in between. And so, excuse the example, but most of you saw Doctor Strange. And there was a scene in Doctor Strange where the Avengers, met the guys, these, whatever you call them, wizards, whatever. They met them and they said, who are y'all? And they said, I'll never forget this. They said, you all deal with the physical threats that you can see. They said, we are the ones that deal with the mystical threats that you can't see. And in this planet, there's always the natural threat and there is the invisible threat that is empowering the physical threat. You understand what I'm saying?
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up today. We got to check this out, man. I want to play this snippet here from Pastor Turnbull from Lionheart Church. You guys got to see this. I watched this yesterday. I watched the sermon throughout yesterday. I did not know that this was where he was going with this. And to be honest with you, this is not what the actual sermon was about. This was the beginning. And I'm just guessing that this is what the Holy Spirit put in him to tell us, those of us that were watching, those there and those online that were watching. But I thought it was phenomenal and I wanted to bring it.
Yes. And I definitely encourage you guys to watch the rest of it. And before and the broadcast, I just wanted to get back to here because I did ask, I said, with the current events with Iran have been discussed in Bible prophecy, can you list the related passages, right? And so here are the primary passages frequently cited in discussions of Iran, Persia in relation to current or end time events. Because see, here's the thing, that's who Iran is. They are Persia. We call them Iran now because there was like a rebranding and a name change, but it's Persia. Okay. Now, Ezekiel 38 through 39, specifically with Ezekiel 38:5, this describes the future invasion of Israel by a coalition led by Gog of the land of Magog, often interpreted as Russia or a northern power, including Persia, explicitly named as an ally, Cush, Put, Gomer, and Beth Togarmah. Many interpreters see modern Iran, Persia, as part of this northern alliance that will attack a peaceful Israel in the last days, only to be supernaturally defeated by God. The key verse, Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Cush, and Put are with them. All of them will shield and helmet. This is the most commonly referenced passage for Iran's role in end-time prophecy, with recent events like alliances or conflicts with Israel seen by some as setting the stage. Jeremiah 49:34 through 39, and it's just pointing out key verses, not trying to take it out of context, guys. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might, but in latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord. So I will definitely link this in the repost of the show so you guys can go through it. Also mentions of Daniel, and that is what the pastor that I just showed you guys, that he goes further into. And it says, some see symbolic ties to modern Iran's resurgence or challenges from Western powers, the GOAT, as Greece in the West. Okay. So there are mentions of Persia in the Bible, but it's Iran. And so a lot of this is playing out biblically. So this isn't just, whenever we see things going on, it's never just man. It's always spiritual. It's always been spiritual. This is about us in the spiritual realm, whether you like it or not, whether you see it that way or not. We are spiritual beings and we have free will. But the one thing I see that they're trying to do to our free will is they're trying to get us to give up and just kind of go, oh, I'm just tired. I don't want to anymore. That's still free will. Understand that. Just because you say you don't want to participate, that's still free will not to participate, not to stay in the battle, stay engaged, stay in the fight, right? Now, I admit it can be challenging, right? And it can be overwhelming, but that's where you have to pray and ask God to give you discernment, right? To not get caught up on the emotional part of it, but stay vigilant and stay focused, period. Because giving up is still where they want us to be. They want us to give up our free will, but they want us to use emotion to continue to feed the evil that's out there, because evil needs our anger and our dissension with one another. But what if we turned it around and say, you know what? We are going to focus on being peaceful. We are going to focus on taking the steps to make sure that we build a better future for our lives, for our children and individuals around us. If we focused on that and we stopped feeding all of this hate and anger and vicious activity, our world would be in a different place. And again, it's all free will. It is all free will. And so you need to make sure that you're making the best decisions with it as possible. And with that, we're going to end the broadcast for today. And thank you guys so much for joining me here on our Monday recap. Tomorrow is going to be Tell It All Tuesday. And we're going to get into some more news, right? That's going to be dealing with these conflicts, but just some other things that we need to pay attention to. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.